theyeshiva.net.
So what's your question?
My question is, from where comes the point that to be a chussid, like the real touch from chussid, that to be machme,
Hasidim are more holy.
not the idea of a chussid in Shechnurah, like to do lefnim Mashiach.
Yeah, no, lefnim Meshuras Hadin.
Everybody for his own.
Yeah, of course. Lefnim Meshuras Hadin means beyond the letter of the law. Beyond lefnim. This Shuras Hadin. Shuras Hadin means this is the line. Shura means a line. This Shuras Hadin. I can't cross this line. This line is Asa, right? Lefnim Meshuras Hadin means I go even beyond the line. In other words, my line, I draw closer, and I'm Moisef. There was a Yid here some time ago. He was doing yahrzeit for his father, Moshe Zev Lamb. So by the Kiddush, he said his father sold meat in Williamsburg. Right? So he said that the way he grew up, he saw his father. He would always, the mishkoilus, right, with the scales. He would weigh to make sure that it was exact. Person asked for 3 pounds, it was exact. And if it wasn't mamish 3 pounds, he would add salami till it was 3 pounds. And after he made sure it was 3 pounds mamish, he would add another piece. Are you mechuyev to add another piece of salami? You're not mechuyev. You're mechuyev to be honest, exact. A Jew wants to be moisef, he wants to be machmer.
So there's no such thing that you
That's the idea of fnim meshuras hadin. Fnim meshuras hadin means you go the extra mile. You're not mechuyev, you go the extra mile.
But a lot of the Chachumim Sesirim is to go the extra mile.
No, so that's the vart.
Like a gate there and all.
Oh, so a geder is the pshat. A geder that they made, a fence that they made is, imagine you have in front of your house, yeah, an electrical, an electrical, an electrical transformer. Now imagine you have not only an electrical transformer, yeah, you have something that if somebody steps on it, can explode. What if happens if you have nuclear energy, or you have a hydrogen bomb, etc.? Right? So you don't have little children, but you don't only put up a sign; you also put up a fence that nobody should be able to get in there. And then you're afraid that people will climb over the fence, so you put barbed wire, right? And you make a tall fence. And what if you're afraid that the fence is too weak and it can break? Yeah? So you reinforce the fence. When we look at Isurim, you have to understand this. When we look at Isurim in Torah, yeah, they said you're not allowed to eat chicken and milk. Why are you not allowed to eat chicken and milk? They're basically used to eat chicken and milk. The Gemara says we don't eat chicken and milk because chicken is considered meat, basa. If you allow people to eat chicken and milk, they can come to eat steak and milk. Yeah, a chicken burger could become a meat burger. What are you doing? Why are you making this? Muktzah. I'm not allowed to have a hammer. I'm not allowed to move this on Shabbos. I'm not allowed to move a hammer on Shabbos because I may come to make a telephone call on Shabbos. What are you making me Yisurim? And the same is true all the shvusim that Rabbanan that they make on Shabbos. Amir L'nochi, I'm not allowed to tell a guy because I may come to do it myself. I'm not allowed to blow. I'm not allowed to play violin because I'm going to be Mesakin Klei Shir. V'chuli v'chuli. But that's the answer. Imagine you would see the Isser min HaTorah as nuclear energy, right? You would build a very big fence.
May I ask a question?
So I'm saying we're not sensitive to it. To say okay, but if you're very sensitive to it, you build a fence and you want to make sure. The whole b'dikas chametz. Why do we do b'dikas chametz? Beer chametz. Shema yaveh la'achla. We're afraid somebody's going to eat chametz. If you're going to leave a bagel in your house, yeah, no b'dikas chametz, you can eat it. You made it hefker, it's fine. You're allowed to have a bagel in your house, min HaTorah. You have to get rid of the bagel. Shema yaveh la'achla. Because if you understand what achilas chametz is, then the fences become very understandable. They were extremely sensitive to this, and they realized these mistakes happen. Shema yavirena arba amas b'rshus harabim. Yeah, for a Jew to carry a shofar arba amas b'rshus harabim is a gewalt. It's very, very serious. It destroys the whole equilibrium of the world. It's like you're in a spaceship, yeah, and you puncture the spaceship. You're in a spaceship, and you puncture the spaceship. I'm giving an example. So therefore, they made these takanas. Is it Asim and Atayra b'Feidish? It's not Asim and Atayra. L'fnim Yishuris Hadin means something else. L'fnim Yishuris Hadin means, despite I'm not mechuyev, not Doiraisa, not Rabbana, I do something extra, either in the positive or the negative. Well, mashal tzedakah. I'm mechuyev to give 10% of my revenue for tzedakah. I'm not mechuyev to give more. There are Jews who give 20%. Yeah, Jews who give 15%. L'fnim Yishuris Hadin. So what's your shayla? Frag, darfst du nicht schamen. Da kannst du alles fragen. Even Isaac started to ask.
So the shayla was I know it's very, it makes a lot of sense. The question is, I'm looking at, and now that I can see, I'm just seeing my life. The Hafsidim, this concept, what Hafsidim is, it brought along the way.
Like what? Could you give an example?
Well, not. Everything that, every second thing is you know how dangerous it is, so you're not allowed to do in every aspect, whatever it should be. I mean, I'm talking about the Chimra societies. I mean,
like what? Could you give an example? I'm not familiar so much.
Should it be? Let me say.
You could say everything. Don't worry.
Should it be? I'm saying a certain community, so I'm not saying every.
I got it.
So should it be a woman driving? Because of. They are saying the same thing, the same idea. Should it be certain styles? Should it be with whatever? And,
okay.
And you're then stamped like the same thing that you heard on the streets. And the reason is they have this generation, the Hakuma were 2,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. So they knew it then, we knew it in this generation. So that's why we just need, which is so dangerous, and the kids won't know. And this made a lot of damage. So the question is, not that I'm trying to.
I get it.
If it's a real concept, where is it? Is it true also in these days with certain areas? For instance, let's say nobody said it's not written anywhere that you're not allowed to take drugs. I'm just giving a wild example, but and you understand that you won't say anybody it's not an issue. You should go ahead and do it, and you should stay away from it because. So where is it right and where is it wrong, and whom can we trust and can we?
It's a good question.
Like the concept we see, they use the same concept. Right.
So I'm going to tell you two things. First of all, the moment there's no Sanhedrin, nobody could make a takana for Klal Yisrael. It just doesn't work anymore. Even kitnius. The Ashkenazim don't eat rice on Pesach. We don't eat legumes on Pesach. That's a big takana. It was made already in the 11th century, 12th century, 13th century by the big Ashkenazi Shapoiskim, and there was a reason for it. The grain field, the wheat fields, were near the corn fields and the rice fields, rice paddies. They were always getting mixed up. So when you had rice, you brought rice from the field, there was probably grain there. You now grind it up, you cook it in water, you leave it in the water for an hour, right? You think you're eating rice, you have a little grain there, it's chametz. It was a serious concern. They asered all kitnias, as we know. The Sfardim never had this problem. They never asered it. Now, will somebody come along and say that if somebody eats kitnias on Pesach, he's mechuyev kares? That's amaratzis. A erlich yid who knows anything about it would not speak that way. Why? It's not an Issa min HaTorah. It's not even an Issa d'Rabbanan. The Rambam writes clearly, the moment the Sanhedrin was dissolved and the Gemara, the period of Gemara was over, nobody could make takanas for Klal Yisrael anymore. It just doesn't exist. There's no one body that has the authority al pi Torah to define gzeiros or make mitzvahs or make takanas or isurim that are for the whole Jewish people. All the takanas in Gemara is pashto b'chol tfutzis Yisrael. Afterwards, there's the gather of ba'asra de Rav no kerav, ba'asra de Shmuel no kishmuel. Every place has its batei dinim, its shoiftim. Every era has its poskim, and one has to follow them. But one cannot say it's a takana because the Sfardim made it. It's for the Ashkenazim because the Ashkenazim is the Sfardim. Just like you have different nuschayos in tefillah, you have different takanas, you have different inyanim. By Chassidim, there's a big chumrah to eat, not to eat gebrachas. Yeah, The Alter Rebbe himself has a Shtruva in Shulchan Aruch, Charles Shtruva's, Admon Azakan, I think Simon Vav, where he's very, very meidich in the chub that one should not eat gebrockets on Pesach. But somebody who comes and says that he eats kneidlach on Pesach, the first day of, besides Achron Shal Pesach, somebody's going to say that he's oived on a Issa Na'atayra or oived on a Issa Rabbanon. Chas v'shalom, you can't speak like that. Is it a chumrah? It's a chumrah. Did the Baal HaTanya believe that it's a chumrah people should follow? Yeah, he felt that there was something very serious about it. But yeah, he'll define it as a chumrah. Yeah. He also is machmir that you shouldn't crack nuts on Shabbos. He says you're not allowed to crack nuts on Shabbos. You're not allowed to crack nuts because it's going to bring to boired and muktzah. But he would never say that a Jew who cracks nuts on Shabbos is over an isim and atayra d'Rabbanan v'haraya in Shulchan Aruch. He says you're allowed to crack nuts on Shabbos. So what's his problem? In the Siddur he says you're not allowed to. In Shulchan Aruch he says you're allowed to. The answer is his Siddur he was writing for his Chassidim. For his Siddur he's saying, I know the matzah, people crack nuts and then they move the shells and it's muktzah, or they do boirer. The Lizoyer do not crack nuts on Shabbos. But this was his chumrah that he said. Till today, anybody who follows the minhagim and the halachas of the Alter Rebbe will not crack a nut on Shabbos. Right? But in Shulchan Aruch he says, yeah. The man himself says in Shulchan Aruch, why? There's a system in Yiddishkeit. It's not a fkedus. We wake up one day, we asa cracking nuts. It's an inyan, it's a chumrah. He believes it's a real chumrah because it could bring to, he says, chash is a skilla, or chatas. Because boired is isim and boired is an isur. There's no fences around boired. Most Isurei Shabbos you're not going to get close to. Or marshal writing, yeah? If you don't write 2 letters, there's no isim in atayra. Chazal asked even 1 letter, yeah? You take a pencil, you weren't over. It's not so easy to be nichshel min atayra Shabbos because they made a lot of good fences. People don't get close to it. You don't touch muktzah. It's very hard to be nichshel. The only place where there's no fences is boirer. Boirer is right away. There's no fences around boirer. So he was very afraid with boirer. Very afraid with boirer. But it's a gather of a chumrah. So that's even the gdoilei hachroinim of the stature of Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Baal HaTanya, or back the Rishonim don't make zaydas that go on Klal Yisrael. To come today and say that somebody makes an isser, and it becomes an isser din atayra, an isser din rabbanon, it's not oizgehalten. You could say it's a chumrah that he introduced for his community. That's fine. It's a chumrah that he introduced for his community. And somebody to mix that up with an isim and atayra, an isser din rabbanon, or this. So say certain styles of dress that certain rabbis instituted in their community. That's what it is. They made a takana for their kehillah. To say that it's an isim in atayra or an issa d'Rabbanon or a chi of gomer, what's the basis for that? It's a takana that he made, and many other poskim disagreed with him. They disagreed with him. Fine. The fact is that there are millions of women who are erliche people who drive. There's some communities where the rabbis made a takana that women shouldn't drive. But there's hundreds of thousands of women who are moiser nefesh for Torah and mitzvahs in Yerushalayim who drive a car not on Shabbos, who drive a car on the weekdays. Okay? So to come and say that it's a prohibited thing, it's hepech HaTorah for a woman to drive, nobody speaks like that. It's a shtus gama to say that. Kitni is, you don't say it's hepech HaTorah. It's a minig of the Ashkenazim. And was made by the Rishonim. That was made by the Rishonim. So to say on this that it's an isur, it's a takana that was made in a particular community for those who follow that community, that Rav, that Pesach. Okay. Does he have his reasons? He has his reasons. Is he wrong? We can argue about it. I mean, I can have my opinion, other people have their opinions. Fine. But you can't say it's an absolute prohibition that women are not allowed to drive. And the same is true with different styles when it comes to this garment or that garment or what's mutter, what's isser. What is it? There's a machlokes about sheitlach. Yeah? Yes sheitel, no sheitel. Okay, so there's different poskim who have different shittas. So somebody's going to say a woman who wears a sheitel, yeah? A woman who wears a sheitel is being over on Shulchan Aruch, being over al Das Yehudis, Rosh Parua. Erlich doesn't speak like that. You could say, according to this shitta doesn't hold for me. But there's many, many poskim who did. Their own wives were great ones. If I care, they felt the shaitel was even better than other stuff. I'm giving you an example. So there's machlokes in halachas. Just like there's machlokes in Hilchas Erevin about an Erev. Right? There's machlokes in who is was. There's machlokes in about Shabbos elevators. There's machlokes about water. Fine, so these are legitimate debates that always went on in halacha al pi Torah. But here you have to understand, we're not dealing with a isser, we're dealing with a minhag in a particular community that was done in our age by certain rabbis, and they may also have a perspective. They may be wrong, they may be right, etc. These are legitimate debates.
Is the person obligated to be in their community, like with?
No, you're not. There's no such obligation that you have to live in a certain community.
Not in a certain, in general. Does the person need to be in a community in a gala, or if you see some?
Asay l'cha rav. Every person has the right, al pi Torah, to choose a rav. I don't have to live. There's a certain community that may have certain cultural things that don't work for me and my family. So who forces me to be there? There's no chiyuv al pi Torah to remain there. If you can't afford a house, you have to remain there. You could move to another place where there's other houses because you can't afford a house, yeah? And if your children are not doing well in a particular moisid, I'm asking you a question. You're in a community, there's one type of moisid, your children are doing horribly there. So there's a chiyuv to stay there, la'olam vad, and each one of them should have a horrible experience, or you're allowed to move somewhere else where the chinuch for them is going to be better. So which tippish is going to say this? That because you were born here, so you have to stay here, la'olam vad. What are you, an Ari Miklat? Shamtei dirasai, shamtei chayusai, shazagamara makas, shamtei misasai, shamtei kfurasai? I don't understand. If a child has special needs, or not special needs, just unique needs, and this yeshiva can't cater for him, so I'm allowed to move to another city where they have a yeshiva for him, or no, he has to be destroyed intellectually and emotionally and socially, lo'olam vad. I don't know if one normal human being will say that al pi Torah that's the right thing to do. Punkt farkat. So there's no chiyuv that the community where I was born I have to be there la'olam vad. I say l'charav. A person needs a mentor, a person needs a rav, a person has to have guidance, that's true. But the most important thing is, you cannot create a Yiddishkeit that people feel is destroying their life. If you create a Yiddishkeit people feel destroying their life, you're undermining the whole Yiddishkeit. Let me tell you the most important takana that people have to make is, the takana that people need to feel happy. That's the most important takana, that people should be happy. And that's min ha-Torah. If you're happy, it's not Yiddishkeit. That's taka against Torah. That's taka against Torah. That if you're happy, it's not Yiddishkeit. Really? Isn't there a pasuk? Huh? We say every morning, Mizmer l'soida, Hariyul Hashem kol haaretz, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. So now I want to ask this Yid. When exactly don't we serve God? Is there a moment in life that we're not part of Avodas Hashem? Is Avodas Hashem 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? That means Simcha is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So pasuk in Tehillim. Unless they believe that Avodas Hashem is only Shabbos, or only Pesach, or only when you eat chaluptzos. But an Erlich Yid believes that Avodas Hashem is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So that means Simcha is 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Huh? This is not Rabbi YY's Chiddush. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. It's said every day. The Ramah finishes the whole Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim. Toiv leiv mishta tamid. Literally, it means a good heart is always partying, is always feasting, is always celebrating. That's what the Ramah finishes a pasuk. The Rambam was considered a big ish haseichel and an Erlich Yid. Let me tell you a Lashon HaRambam. And this is not Likutei Torah or even Mesilas Yesharim or Likutei Maharan. This is Rambam Hilchos Lulav Perek Ches Halacha Tesvav. Hasimcha sheyismach adam ba'asiyas hamitzvah v'avas hakel shetziva ben avodah gdoilehi. The simcha that a person rejoices by doing a mitzvah and in his love of God, who commanded the mitzvah, is a tremendous avodah. V'chol ha'meinei atzmei mesimcha zu, roi li porem imenu shenemar tachas asher le'evadatas Hashem alokecha b'simcha v'tov levav. Somebody who prevents himself from this type of simcha is really a terrible, terrible thing. In fact, the whole Teichach in Parshas Kisavai is why? Because you didn't serve God b'simcha v'tov levav. V'chol ha'meigiz daita, whoever is arrogant, v'chol le'kavod la'atzmai, and he protects his own kavod, u'miskabed be'enu b'mekayim ha'seilum, he tries to respect himself, so he doesn't want to go wild from joy, he wants to make believe he's serious, he's a chayta and a shaita. He's a sinner and a fool. Al zeh hizir shleima v'amar al tishader lifnei melech. Don't suddenly become behuda in front of the king. V'chol hamashpil atzmai, whoever humbles himself, u'meikil gufa b'mekom kamezeli, he allows his body to be light, to be full of joy. Hu hagadol hamachubed ha'ovid me'ava. V'chein David melech Yisrael Amar, David says, u'nekaloisi oid mizois v'yisi shafel be'ena. It says David was dancing when they brought back the Aron. So his wife said, "Why are you embarrassing yourself?" He said, "On the contrary, even if I would be even more humble and dance even more, it would be better." Ve'ein hagdula va'akavod ela l'smoyach lifnei Hashem shenemar hamelech David mefazes u'mecharke lifnei Hashem. David was mefazes. Mefazes and mecharke means he was mefazes. He was jumping, acrobats, dancing and jumping lifnei Hashem. The Gdula and Kavod is to be samech lifnei Hashem. So now the question is there a moment when there's no avodas Hashem? Avodas Hashem is a constant reality. We serve Hashem when we eat, when we drink, when we daven, when we learn, when we do a mitzvah, when we support our family. Avodas Hashem is always. The Rambam says in Hilchos Deis, b'chol drechecha de'eyu. If that's the case, when is simcha? Simcha is 24 hours a day. I believe that your teachers know about this Rambam. I don't know if your teachers know about this Rambam. How would I know if your teachers know about this Rambam? The frivolousness, but simcha? You can't compare. Simcha is not l'malis choik piv. Simcha is an internal feeling of joy in life, a happiness, a sense of fulfillment, of satisfaction, of knowing that you matter, you're in a relationship. Life is meaningful, is significant. Even a moment of challenge is an opportunity. Here the Rambam is even speaking about going wild, actually. The Rambam is speaking about letting your body just, not being self-conscious, basically. The Rambam believes that self-conscious people are choitim and shaitim. Besides being sinners, they're also fools. Because they're not living, they're not... A chayta means, fine, it's a felt Yiras Shamayim. If you would have Yiras Shamayim, you wouldn't be self-conscious. You would think about God, not about yourself. In addition to being a chayta, you're also a shaita, because you don't get to live. You're depriving yourself from life. You're too self-conscious.
There's a slang that used to be used a lot. I mean, it's still used. Man darf verstehen für das meint. Das unkommen bis dort. Das ist alles lernen.
Okay, listen. It's true. Man darf verstehen, was meint is an excuse when somebody is shown a source that contradicts everything he preached for 40 years, so he says, "Medaf verstehen was meint."
You learn the whole Rambam, then you can.
Okay, so first of all, some people learn the whole Rambam. That's number one. And number two, the Rambam says what he writes. And the Rambam writes in his own Akdama that he wrote the Sefer Rambam that everybody should understand him, kekotten kegadol. That's what he writes. The whole reason he wrote this Sefer was that even a young child should be able to understand. So the same Rambam says this in his own Akdama. The problem is he doesn't know the Akdama of the Rambam either. Outside of Verstein. What did you... He wrote me a story. What's the story you wrote about Hecher Zachen? What happened?
Don't go there.
What was the story in Chumash? With Yaakov? Which story was it? Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel. So the teacher said, so somebody asked what it means. That Yaakov kissed Rachel. So he said, as a Hecher Zachen. Right? It's higher things, but versteht nicht. So one of the boys asked, so maybe when it says to keep Shabbos, is euch Hecher Zachen. Und man versteht nicht. So the consequences were pretty detrimental. Pretty detrimental. Huh?
Who answered in this question that he knew that there's going to be a shaitel like you asked this
They say the Gerer Rebbe, the Beis Yisrael. Somebody told him that a particular person gave a shir, and he said, "Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel, Yaakov kissed Rachel." Vayef, he cried. Why did he cry? He said, "Oh, I kissed a girl. I have to do tshuva." So he started to cry to do tshuva for the kiss. They say that somebody told it over to the Gerer Rebbe. So he said, Yaakov cried, "V'layet gevust as der Rosh Hashiva v'tazay lenim shach." That's what he cried. He knew the person. Huh? That's a Zokman from the Beis Yisrael, yeah. It's a past for the Gerer Rebbe, yeah. In Tanya, there's a whole Perek Mem Vav, Perek Mem Hey, what's Pshat Vayishak Yaakov l'Roch. So Ziche Hecher Ezach, and every pasuk is the Hecher Ezach. Shabbos is euch the Hecher Ezach. But the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Samach Gimel, Ein Mikra Yotzim Edei Pshuta. Of course, there's Hecher Ezach. Ein Mikra Yotzim Edei Pshuta. A pasuk has to be learned by Pashtos. If you say a pasuk doesn't have to be learned by Pashtos, then Tefillin also doesn't mean Tefillin. It means take the concept of it doesn't even say Kshartam Lois is a concept. Chsaftam Al Mezuzah is also a concept. It said don't eat chazer. It's also a concept.
We can all start doing Hecher Ezach.
Huh?
We can all start doing
The klal in halach is ein mikra yotzim de pshuta. Well, you take a learning medrash. You don't have that klal ein mikra yotzim de pshuta. It's not a mikra. Medrash could sometimes be allegorical. It says clearly. I mean, the Maral says, the Marsha says.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.